It was Flag Day on both sides of the country yesterday. Rangers unveiling theirs at Ibrox and Hibernian unveiling the First Division flag at Easter Road. Good evening to you. Plenty of goals this weekend in the Bank of Scotland Premier League, and they're all here for you tonight. Welcome to the first Scott Sport of the new season. And joining me here in the studio tonight, the former Vice Chairman of Rangers Football Club, Donald Finlay QC, and alongside Donald, Scott Sport regular Graham Spears from Scotland on Sunday. Well, as we said, it was Flag Day at Ibrox yesterday, of course. Chairman David Murray doing the honours along with Dick Advocat, the first Bank of Scotland SPL Champions flag, and Rangers' favourites to repeat the feat this season. The flag hoisted in Glasgow sunshine. Rangers now seriously preparing for the heat of a Champions League qualifier against Parma in 10 days' time. Well, as I said at the start, the former Rangers Vice Chairman Donald Finlay is one of my guests this evening, and later on he'll be helping us look back at Rangers' match with Kilmarnock. Donald, what I have to say to you, first of all, looking at that flag celebration at Ibrox yesterday, one would presume that you have great regrets that you're no longer a part of the setup there. Oh
yes, that's obvious, Jim. I mean, it was a tremendous honour, as well as a thrill to be involved with Rangers, and of course I'm sad that that has come to an end.
But you fully accepted at the time that because of what happened and what was reported, you had to leave.
Well, I made a significant mistake. I didn't shy away from that, and I acted and reacted to it. I mean, it was my decision to stand down, despite the way some people tried to portray it. It was my decision. I thought it was the right and honourable thing to do.
And despite we all know the words of that song, which you were clearly singing that evening, despite that, you have to tell us tonight that bigotry is completely unacceptable.
There is no doubt about that at all. You cannot and you must not discriminate against anybody, whether it's because of race or creed or religion. That's totally unacceptable, and it is something that I have never done.
We have a problem here because at Ibrox yesterday there was 48,000 in the stadium, and I would guess that maybe half of them were singing the exact same words as you were, including up to our knees in Fenian blood. But I don't suppose that any of them wanted really to go outside and kill a Catholic.
It's one of the difficulties, and it's something that I was very much involved in when I was at Ibrox, and I've been reflecting on a lot of things since this happened. And it is going to be a problem to keep the Rangers tradition, but to bring it into the next millennium, and that's something that will have to be spoken about calmly and properly when the time is right.
Do you have any suggestions at this stage as to how Rangers and Celtic as well can go about this?
No, I think that's something that you would want to look at in considerable detail. But there's a lot to this. It's not just about football. It's about attitudes and how we deal with attitudes. But I think it is important for both clubs that they must preserve their traditions. That's what the clubs are. That's why they exist. But it is making those traditions modern and really making them acceptable to a wider audience. And that's going to be a problem for both clubs to look at. And I'll have something to say about that, which I hope will be constructive, but I'll say that in due course. But
it's going to be so difficult to kill off those traditions, all those songs with all those vile, foul words in them.
That's perhaps the easy bit, is to take the words out of the songs. But it's about attitudes, and it's getting attitudes right. You're entitled to have your own opinions, and in a free country you're entitled to say what you believe in. But what you are not entitled to do in any circumstances is to do something that prejudices a fellow citizen, and that's where the difficulty is going to lie. OK,
Donald, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Now to our main feature this evening, yesterday's match between Rangers and Kilmarnock. Michael Mols and Neil McCann both missing from the Rangers team. Kilmarnock without 5 first-team regulars, including Gordon Marshall and Ian Durant. Match commentator, Archie McPherson.
Back to business, as if there hasn't been a summer break at all. The sun in keeping with Rangers' dazzling start of the season, and of course a stadium full of the usual pre-season expectation. A little bit of a disappointment, though, for the Rangers supporters crammed in here, is that Michael Mols, after all, hasn't quite made it after his injury in midweek, and neither has Neil McCann. So the Rangers team have brought back George Albert in place of McCann, of course, and the Argentinian Gabriel Amato up front. And playing for the first league game since he was injured against Kilmarnock last December, Arthur Newman at fullback, and arguably Rangers' classiest player. Kilmarnock really up against it when you think they don't have Gordon Marshall, Mark Bater, Dylan Kerr, Jim Loughlin is suspended, Ian Durant and John Henry. They just have to put up with it. That's the team they choose today. A newcomer, Frederic Dandelou, number 17. The man they got from Lille. I saw him playing in France. Very solid player indeed. He'll play, I think, on the left side of a formation which Bobby Williamson was saying was going to contain 3 centre-backs. And there's the referee, Martin Clark, ready for action. The pitch looks in absolutely perfect condition for this Bank of Scotland Premier Division game. And no doubt Rangers will be wondering if perhaps towards the end of this game there might be a little tiredness creeping into the legs, which very normally happens when you've played a game in Europe, however successfully. And certainly they did in Finland. Very difficult to make a full appraisal of a Rangers side until they really come up against much higher opposition, as he very shortly will almost inevitably do against Parma. Way on the far side, Wallace. Does show you the strength of this Rangers side as Wallace is brought down with a delightful little feint and swivel there. And as a free kick. This is the way he tried to go through the 2 players there. How sharp this little man is. Rangers' top goal scorer of last season. Ferguson keeping his composure there as he was surrounded. Albert tried to slip that through. Now picked up there eventually by Gus McPherson. Down by Ali Mitchell, and the flag goes up, and I think it was Roberts who might have been offside there. Reyna. Roberts dabbing that through. Mitchell picks up. Not a bad move by Kilmarnock. There's Moore. Right in position. Kilmarnock, after 5 minutes, getting a touch of the ball and winning a corner kick. Claus positive there, and just away. Too clever by half that time by Ferguson, whipped away by Damchuk. Then by Ferguson, Reyna. Nicely played out. Now here's Adamchuk. Reyna. Nice little ball. That was a brilliant ball to Wallace. Lacks a little bit of support across there, though. Ferguson neatly inside. Van Bronckhorst. Good support work by Rangers. Now Newman. Alberts. And there's Wallace. He had a look at it, but I suspect the linesman on the far side had put his flag up. Reyna played intelligently for the United States in the World Cup in a poorish USA team, and so he stuck out a mile there. And he did indicate the way he touched that ball forward, how quickly he can see space for the forward-running player. Oh, that's a brilliant ball by Amoruso. Now Mato. Turning his man, and again he's got to let fly. Couldn't get hold of it. And dab towards goal by Newman. That's why this big fellow is such a favourite with the Rangers supporters. I mean, at times he looks extremely awkward, not gangliness. He overcomes with sheer perseverance of the ball, but well covered again, this time by Kevin McGowan. Ended up by Newman having a dab at it. Here's Reyna. Beautiful play by Reyna there. Wallace to Adamchuk. Nice ball inside. Here's Wallace again. Yes, corner kick there. Neat play by Rangers. Ending up with, first of all, he was set up beautifully by Adamchuk, and then Van Bronckhorst trying, again, that little piercing pass forward. McGowan finding his players with a long ball as Ali Mitchell. Beautiful run by Ali Mitchell. Can he put it away? That's a good save. Well, the game certainly needed that, an injection of pace, and Rangers not bringing it away from their own half creatively enough. And here's Arthur Newman trying to pick up on that. Wallace. There's Newman coming forward. That's a brilliant move by the fullback. And Albert's pass almost finding him at the end. And that was a good minute's worth of fine attacking football at either end. All sparked off on that run by Ali Mitchell. Back in towards Van Bronckhorst. Left to Moore. Van Bronckhorst, good control. Taps towards Wallace. He's going in for the kill. Can he make it? He can get there. Yeah! Brilliantly taken. It required superb precision. A high ball under pressure. The ball seemingly getting away from him. And 2 touches. It was in the back of the net. This is class finishing by any standards. Control here. Looked as if it might go away from him, and at the end of it keeping his cool. And Rangers 5 minutes from half-time, a winner. Well, he's been in a volcanic mood, that gentleman, you can see there, but I think that might pacify him a little anyway. There's Newman getting into stoppage time now. Newman back by Van Bronckhorst, and Ali Mitchell comes in there to crowd him out again. This is a new boy. That was a nice little turn on Amarusa there by Michael Jeffries. Now Mitchell looking up for support in that far side. Adamchuk's there though. Now Rangers, as the half-time whistle goes, booing was, I think, because the Rangers supporters rather hostile against the referee for some decisions. But early on in the game, it shows you how useful Rangers are coming from midfield with players like Barry Ferguson, Van Bronckhorst and Claudio Arena showing the way to split a defensive wall. But Kilmarnock held fast, came back. Ali Mitchell with that lovely little run in there, hit and run, and then firing it straight at the Rangers goalkeeper Stephen Kloss. And in the goal, an absolute gem. Watch the way this is set way downfield, not the easiest ball to take. There's the control, still grasping to get at it, which he successfully did. Another goal for Rod Wallace, and that's maybe an ominous sign for other teams in the Premier Division as Rangers go off 1 goal up. Rangers maybe 1 up at the start of the second half, but I've not the slightest doubt that Dick Advocaat will want a much more disciplined performance from them in the second half. Far too much loose passing, which of course played right forward for Kilmarnock in the way they played, crowding midfield. Too many balls given away, and then no pressure of any great note, sustained note on Colin Meldrum, and in that brilliant goal which came from a long pass, which they seem to be spurning, playing a lot of close passing football, Rangers. Certainly Kilmarnock faded very much out of the game as an attacking force eventually. So it remains to be seen what kind of G-up they've been given at the interval. Waiting for somebody to try the forward run, it didn't quite come. It is picked up well by Wallace this time. Van Bronckhorst is inside, and the final tackle then again by Dindaloo, who's had a splendid debut for Kilmarnock. There may be a substitution coming up here. Careless pass again by Moore. Ferguson comes out of it well though. Now Wallace. Albert. Back into Albert. Can he get it to his left foot? It's his right foot, which lessened the chance of that move ending successfully. Put to the wrong side of the German, but another piercing move by Rangers again. Started off by Wallace and almost finished off as he put it through to the big fellow. using the foot he merely stands on.
Substitution for Kilmarnock.
And it's Mark Roberts going off.
Number 15, Jerome Bry.
John Bry, who was injured against Rangers earlier last season, of course, missed a lot of games and has very good pace, which is what Killie need at the moment. Well, they need more than pace, but pace will help. There he is. There's a shot at goal. That's not a bad first effort. On the field, 10 seconds, and he's intimating to everybody else, even if they hadn't known it, that he's got good control and that kind of pace that I spoke about, but angling it away too much. Forward by Jeffries. Moret brought that down very well. Back to Hay. Missed by, and that could be an equaliser. It is. Mitchell, mistake right in the middle. But that Rangers defence, a momentary hesitation, and Mitchell, who's spoiled many a hope here at Irish before, most notably in the championship 2 years ago, nips in there to put it away. Had to remain cool. Yes, when a mistake happened, and slotted in, and Rangers for all their possession. In the second half, absolutely nothing to show for it, and Killie are back on level terms. Wallace. Ferguson. Nicely turned around. Rayner. Better play by Rangers. Rayner with it. Goal! What a goal! Rayner, classical setup and brilliant finish. The man who's been outstanding today, certainly the man of the match, and I don't think anybody will exceed that now. Starting it in midfield and finishing it off, and as I think you will see from this, it wasn't the easiest of angles. He had to pick it up, it had to be very precise indeed. Seemed to take it a little bit with the outside of the foot to turn it right, and the American has now become an instant hero with his huge crowd, not only for the intelligence of his play, but showing them that he can finish clinically as well. Amaruso, Johansson got a little touch to that, and again Holt comes back with him. Oh, it's a good tackle by Damchuk. In it, tried to touch that inside. You could see that Wallace had made that penetrating run from the outside of the box. That's very hard, and Wallace got down to it. Certainly Johansson was following up, but I don't think there was any doubt the goalkeeper was going to get it. These corner kicks have troubled the Kilmarnock defence, although there should have been covering there. Johansson almost got through once again to Van Bronckhorst. Paddy Mitchell's worked ever so hard for Kilmarnock. There's a run by Wallace, and he's trying himself. Well, Johansson was screaming for the ball to be played inside, but it was an immaculate turn. This, once again, a lovely ball through by the German. That's the turn that deceived him. Now he could have laid it back. He chose to go himself, although the angle was difficult. Well, he's a hard man to please, this. Johansson shields it well. That's a beautiful little ball in towards Wallace. Now that may be a yellow card. Was he the last defender? The Kilmarnock players are saying no. Chris Innes, I think, was pointing to himself that he was nearer the goalkeeper. Gets a yellow card. See what they have in mind. Johansson's hovering there. Here's Van Bronckhorst. Nice little touch right to Wallace. Can he put this away? There's Velvet coming in. And I don't think any touch was made whatsoever. And indeed, it was Porini on the far side who slides in after this. Watch his ball coming across here. And suddenly, in that position, it's Porini who almost made contact. Some of these Rangers players, particularly the midfield players, looking a little bit tired. They've had an arduous opening couple of weeks, having to go to Europe and play a very meaningful game. And I think it's telling. Here's Ferguson. As the final whistle goes, well, it turned out to be very narrow. It really shouldn't have been that, given the amount of possession that Rangers did have, especially in the second half. And when they opened their account late on in the first half of that glorious through ball here that required a great deal of work still to be done, but Wallace, of course, has shown he can do it so very well. And then the fight back by Kilmarnock, which was very surprising to say the least, because they hardly had possession in the second half. But look, there is the question mark that has to be asked about this Rangers defence. Remember, they gave a goal away so easily in Europe. But the immediate retort by the man of the match, not surprisingly, Claudio Reyna, when playing the ball in midfield, running into perfect position for the return pass from Alberts, and a glorious finish. Lot of good play by Rangers, but some slack play as well as they prepare for an important couple of weeks and go off winning by 2-1.
Great expectation before that match with the flag-raising ceremony, but it all fell a bit flat.
Well, not the flag. I think that was the best thing of the afternoon. No, I think the expectations were very high, and we couldn't make it. The only good thing today is that we got 3 points. But football-wise, we have to improve, and the good thing from that is that we know that we can do that.
I'm happy with the players individually and as a team. They worked very hard for each other, and the effort was superb, so I have no complaints that way. The goals I felt were avoidable, and we'll have to talk about it during the week.
And your thoughts are now turning towards Parma. You're going to see them this week, yeah?
Probably I will go on Thursday. They play in tournament in Spain.
Is there a belief in the Rangers camp that you can win that tie?
Yeah, I think so. I think because like Parma, we have nothing to lose, of course, because we're still in Europe, otherwise in UEFA Cup. But of course, we want to go in Champions League. The most important thing is to go in Champions League. But we know that Parma is a good team, but we gave them last season a big problem. This season, we want to try to give them a big problem as well, and hopefully we can go through.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that match against Parma, the home leg, is just 10 days away. Graham Spears and Donald Finlay with me here in the studio. Graham, Rangers shaping up for that match?
Yes, they are. I mean, it was quite a competent display yesterday. I don't think it was a fantastic game, but it was a good opening day for Rangers and Advocaat. I mean, the resources of Rangers must be frightening for every other team. Michael Moles cannot make it. A £4 million substitute, in effect, in Mato, because that's what he is. He's not a first choice, comes in. When you look at the resources and the way they gel together, it's an intimidating prospect for the others.
And Claudio Reyna, Donald, he wasn't one of the highest profile signings that Rangers have made in recent years, but he really looks a player. Well,
certainly Dick always spoke very highly about him. He contributes a lot to a game, both in terms of what he does in the middle of the park. You know, he picks the ball up, and he does see a good pass. There are a couple of examples there that he's a tremendous ability just to, by doing not very much in terms of moving the ball on, just open up space. He doesn't often give the ball away.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what Reyna seems to be good at are the simple things. I must admit, I was surprised. I did not think Reyna was a real top quality player. He's one of these players that's accumulated caps playing for the USA, but he wasn't a kind of player that was chased around Europe, and I was slightly surprised when Dick Advocaat signed him, but I think he looks as if he'll settle in well at Rangers.
You look at that little touch there, and that is what we're always screaming out for, skill.
There's no doubt that he has a good deal of basic footballing skill. I mean, there's a tremendous goal. You could actually see him lining that one up. I mean, that was no missed chance. He aimed that, and he didn't have much room to put the ball in. But it's the amount that he contributes to a game. If you look at the number of times he's actually on the ball in the course of a game, he makes a tremendous contribution. And I think the likes of Barry Ferguson and Giovanni van Bronckhorst settle in around a player like that, because he's somebody they know will actually move it on to a man in a blue jersey so that they can look to make runs.
Graham, Kilmarnock, obviously Bobby Williamson had to really shuffle his pack yesterday. He had 5 first-team regulars missing, but he introduced this new Frenchman, Dandeleu, and he had some impressive touches in defence as well.
Yes, well, I mean, Bobby Williamson did not need to do major surgery, I don't think, to Kilmarnock, because they've made such great progress under him over the last 2 years. But he's one player he's added. I believe he's got them under the Bosman ruling for nothing. He had a difficult time at the Wallace goal, which we'll see in due course. But I mean, Bobby Williamson has really astutely put the squad together well, so I bet you he will turn out to be a good player for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see that over the next few weeks. Lorenzo Amoruso, Donald, he was a little bit naughty in this game, but I think he generally got away with it. When we have a look at this, he's tackled, he goes down, and when he gets up, he has a little swipe.
Yeah, that wasn't too clever, Lorenzo. The one thing Lorenzo is not is in any sense a dirty player. I mean, I don't think any of the people who played against him would say that, but just every now and again he does lose control ever so slightly, and that wasn't clever. He was probably quite lucky, but I think Lorenzo would be man enough to admit that he was quite lucky to stay on the park for that.
Down in England, you get these retrospective red and yellow cards wiped out for wrong mistakes. It'd be interesting to do it the other way around, to apply them, having seen something like that. You can't do it, but he'd be in trouble if you could.
Interesting thought. Now, Rod Wallace, again, an outstanding game he had yesterday, Donald, and when you see the way he takes his goal, it really is quite superb.
I mean, that looks as though it might actually be a hopeful ball, but it's not. It's aimed for Wallace, and that's a tremendous piece of control. I mean, he had a great season. The number of goals, and again, his work rate is always colossal in a match, but to take that and finish it, you know, that'll do for a player who cost Rangers nothing. And that's not bad at all.
Absolutely, we made that point several times last season, and Graham, he's going to be a key player in the weeks and months ahead.
Yes, I mean, he was a great buy. It was strange the way it worked out for Rod Wallace last season, because he was one of the great unheralded signings when all these other bigger names were arriving, and as Donald says, came for nothing. Rod Wallace was not the guy that you thought would be the catalyst for Rangers last year, but he was, because every time there was a dip, he kept plugging away, and I don't know how many goals he got, but he got 20 or so goals. He was a mainstay of their season.
Yeah, and I think in fairness that when he arrived, there were quite a number of us kind of assumed that he would be the on the fringes player, was Amato was the major signing, but he deserved his place.
He's made the place in the team his own. Rod Wallace. Now,
take on Parma in their quest for Champions League glory. Can De Cavalcan's men take their revenge on the Italian side who put them out of last year's championships? Scott Sports European Special, Wednesday at 8 on Scottish.